you need to have a long time horizon. I think that can be said for everything Web3 or crypto. Short time horizon or high time preference, as they say, is not a characteristic that is well suited to investing in this market. You want to be staking a claim on your real estate speculatively or from a utility standpoint as early as you can, but understanding that a return on investment may, if any, will be likely with a longer time horizon. If that's the case, then why now, right? And it's specifically for that reason, right? Is that, sure, land in California is some of the most valuable land in the world today. But when people started, when the 49ers started moving west to pursue the gold rush, literally people were just planting a flag and staking a claim on land, right? And that land had no value because I could say, "Oh, look at this piece of land. It's amazing." Boom, I'll plant my flag and take my 100, hectares. And then somebody else comes along and they're horse and wagon right behind me and they're like, "Oh, nice piece of land, Drew." And, but they just go, a couple miles further and they take the next 100 hectares, right? And so until you reach that tipping point where there's no next 100 hectares, and then somebody comes along and they say, "All right, well, you've got a nice 100 hectares. I want 1 hectare," right? And then you start a subdivisioning, right? And then once the subdivisioning is done, well, now, everybody that's got a piece of land, value's going up because there's no more supply, right? And so there's different phases to this thing, but it's all driven by supply and demand, and right now there's going to be more supply than demand. And later on, there's going to be a lot more demand than there is supply. And that's just, that's the way that these curves work. And so you need to be buying when there's a lot of supply and no demand, and you need to be selling when there's a lot of demand and no supply, right? So, that's how early speculation works. When I was buying my first, .com domains in the late 90s, I remember I was still in college, and I remember I had started investing in stocks. I don't know if I told this story the last time I was on. I don't think so, but I had started investing into stocks like pretty early in my life, and I'd done pretty well for my age, and I remember my parents are not particularly financially literate, and so I remember when I told my mom I'd sold all my stocks because I was going to start investing in domain names. She was like, "Oh my God, you're crazy, and don't do that." And had me speaking with my father's friend, and he was like, "You're off to a great start here, and you're investing in stocks, and that's great, and you should keep doing that, and don't get distracted." And I'm like, "Yeah." And it turned out the domain thing was a pretty good idea. And so point being, there was no liquidity. Like anything I was buying, it was either you were going to write it off as a zero or you were going to hold it long term because there was no liquidity. There was no market. There was no, you were just buying these things and hoping that a market, evolved. And, that took 20 years. So, it took 20 years of evolution for the market to hit a point where we are today, where there's a relatively, let's say a reasonable degree of liquidity for valuable domain names, .com. So yeah, I think that particularly as it pertains to anything which is relevant to you personally or a business you own or associated with, your kids, your interests, especially your interests. I think it's very it makes a lot of sense. Why not, right? Obviously, don't invest more money than you can afford to lose. Don't invest the money that's going to put food on the table for your kids. But I think it behooves you to experiment with this stuff. This is an emerging new technology. This is an emerging new internet, right? This is literally a parallel internet. And so, I don't know. To me, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't you stake your claim? Why wouldn't you, go plant your flag on something you're interested in, on your name, on your business? It doesn't make sense not to.